To the point, informative, entertaining, and protecting the Second Amendment. Welcome back to Elfster's Rifles and Reloading in part 4 of this PSA 6.5 Grendel firearm review series. Now, if this is the first time watching one of my videos, or especially this video, I highly recommend rewinding and going back and checking out part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series before watching part 4. As you're most likely have no clue what's going on. But anyway, in part 1, we took our first initial shots with this firearm, and we used some really inexpensive Wolf military classic 100 grain full metal jacket. Also a fodder round. You know, I don't expect this to be accurate, but it's inexpensive, and I can get this for a little over $5 a box for 20 rounds. We also shot some very expensive Hornady Black 123 grain ELD match, and this is very expensive, well over $20 per 20 round box. In part 2 and part 3, we finished our first initial reloads for this firearm, and in part 4 here, we are going to take those reloads out to the range and shoot them. Enough of the blabber talk. Let's take this out to the range. Finally, a weekend where it's not -0 in Wisconsin. Okay, so we are at the 100-yard mark here. We're going to start out with 123 grain SMKs with XBR 8208. All right, so we are going to start out with 5 rounds at 26.3 on the low end. We're going to work our way up to 27.5. And we got our range bag set up here to catch our brass. Let's get this going. There's a lot of snow out here. Sun is fully out, and to be honest, there's quite a bit of mirage coming off that snow. So we're going to try our best, see what we can do here with these first 5 shots. Well, I gotta admit, that mirage coming off that snow is absolutely brutal. That bullseye is dancing all over the place. Find all your brass yet? Next time we have to put the range bag up to catch your range brass.
Yeah, I should actually have one of those damn things.
Well, I'm glad I stopped when I did, when the mirage was brutal at 12 o'clock. First 5 shots, you know, I'd say that's roughly about an inch for the 123 grain SMK XBR 8208. So not too bad, but yeah, it's later in the day. What time do you think it is there, Sean? About 3-ish, 4-ish?
2:45.
Yeah, so at least the sun has gone down past the 100-yard mark, so hopefully the mirage isn't so brutal. So let's give this another whirl. And just didn't want to destroy all that money in load development for nothing for really bad mirage. All right, so I'm going to try this again. It is what it is. I'm just going to shoot it. And just to show, I got 5 rounds shot. See, you know, it's not an amazing group. I would say it's probably, what, 7/8 of an inch probably, Sean?
Yeah, close to that.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the 26.9. So, yeah, I would say they're very consistent points of impact. I would say the groups sizes are pretty darn similar. I think that second group has the edge so far. So let me load up the mag here with the 27.2. All right, so once again, this isn't about bullseyes. This is about point of impact locations and group size. We're going to give this barrel about another minute to cool down. We'll move on to the last 5 rounds of the 123 SMKs with XPR 8208. All right, so that's actually not a bad group. I would say it's probably 3/4 of an inch. And it definitely shifted up in relation to the others in regards to point of impact, and that very well could be a harmonic node, and that's definitely the best one out of all 5. So out of that 5x5, what do you say? That's probably a 3/4 of an inch group, probably.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, not too bad. So let's move on over to the ELDs with Varget. I'm going to give this barrel a chance to cool down, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Okay, so we are moving on to the ELDs, the 123 ELDs with Varget. We're going to start out with the initial load of 27.4. So yeah, not too bad. I would say it's roughly about a 1-inch group. Okay, so we are going to move on with the 27.7. All right, so that's a good sign. I'm not sure the group size. It must be a bullet in a bullet hole other than one shot, right?
Yeah, except for that first or second shot, you're like 1/4 inch with 4 shots.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous group. I don't know. We'll see when we go down there, but if it wasn't for that one flyer, that would be a super sick group.
Wow. Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah,
right
no
there.
shit, man. It's always that one. It's always got to be that one flyer.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Okay, so we are moving on with the 28.0, the 123 ELDs. Yeah, so that would open up a little bit, right? About an inch. Oh yeah, this barrel's not even warm, so I think I'm just gonna keep on going here. So 28.3. All right, 28.6, last 5 rounds. 50 total rounds shot in a row. All right, that's it. No issues with failure to feed or eject. Let's run down and see how we did. Wow, that is awesome. You know, such an inexpensive upper. And yeah, this 27.7 is pretty much a bullet in a bowl or a 1/4 inch group. If it wasn't for that one flyer, that would be a sick group. And this last group at 28.6, I would say that is roughly a 5/8 group. So I think these ELDs are a clear winner. We'll know better once I can score this up. And I'm glad about this. You know, I got tons of Varget. ELDs are much more inexpensive than these SMKs, but man, that is looking really good. Before I head back to the reloading room, I just want to show you this 28.6, the high end of the Varget with the ELDs, and the primers look really good. I think I could even push this a little bit further. You know, only real way to know, I have to get this on a chronograph, but that looks spectacular for reloading. Sides of the case body, awesome. What do you think, Sean?
I'll tell you what, 27.7.
ELDs with the varget.
Group, that's like one of the most rewarding things you can achieve when you're shooting. It's just, I wasn't shooting it. It's not my load, and it's still pleasing for me to see that group, man.
The best thing is when you're shooting a group and you're not sure where the bullets are going, right? You're like, if it's like, all right, that's a bullet hole. But that is awesome. So if you've been watching this series, if you remember in part 2, we bumped that headspace back from fire form to 1.2135. So let's just say 1.213, maybe 214, somewhere in there. So what I did is I pulled out 2 pieces at the most maximum charge on both the XBR and the varget. And so I pulled out 1 piece at 28.6 of the varget powder at the maximum charge that we shot, and one at 27.5 of the XBR 8208. Now, let's quick knock out these primers. And the reason why I can actually see on one, you might have some slight cratering. You can actually see it kind of wobbling a little bit. And that's due to cratering of that primer pocket. It's not an excessive amount of cratering. Let me see if I can zoom in for you guys here. And it's still acceptable in my opinion. You know, it's not bulging out too bad on the crater, but there is a slight bit of cratering. But in order to get an accurate reading, we're going to knock out these primers. And you can see it no longer wobbles anymore. It's just down flat and fast. So let's knock out the other one. Now remember, for those that are new, that are starting their reloading adventure, we bumped that headspace back to 1.213, 1.214, right in the middle there. So I got my bushing back here, headspace bushing back in the main body. I'm gonna zero this out. And so that headspace went from 213 back up to 216. Let's check out the other piece. The exact same measurement, 2165. Both are identical, 2 different powders. One's varget, one's XBR 8208. You can see they expanded and custom formed to this particular firearms chamber. And you can see if we have 213 and expanded to 216, this re-expanded at 0.03 of an inch bump from fire form. And that is exactly what we did in part 2. Now, let's talk about what matters most, especially, I'm sure, for you guys, and that's the accuracy in these groups. Now, you guys seeing it, how it was shot, and some might make the mistake and beeline it right to this one. You know, 27.7 grains of varget, and this is a dinky little bug hole group. It has a little bit of a flyer. You know, this group here is roughly about 3/4 of an inch. And, you know, some good groups, but overall, the big picture, at least when I'm looking at this and I'm trying to understand the load development here, is I got some inconsistent group sizes. You know, this one is, you know, probably 1.5 inches, probably 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. It's roughly a little over 1 inch. And yeah, these might be smoking, especially this one. If I didn't have that flyer, this would be probably a 1/4 minute of angle group. And this does show some promise, but overall, the overall picture when you're looking at this, when I'm looking at these accuracy nodes, they're not consistent in regards to group sizes in relation to the SMKs. The group sizes and their point of impact are much more consistent. We got some pretty good groups here, especially here. This is probably a 5/8 group. This one here is roughly about 3/4, I'm guessing. But the overall picture, the point of impact is more consistent. And I've already scored this, and this is averaging sub MOA. And I think what I'm going to end up doing here is probably loading up, 30 rounds at 27.5 grains of XBR 8208 with a 123 SMKs. And we'll shoot, I don't know, maybe not 30 rounds. Maybe I might do a 5x5 or something. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that in the future. And then load up, probably most likely, this 27.7 in the Varget with the 123 ALDs, and just see how those two compare and contrast with, say, something like a 4x5, 4 groups at 5 shots each, and see how they compare. Now, one thing I definitely could tell you is when I first got this firearm, it definitely needs a time to break in the barrel. One of the worst things you can do is try and do load development right out of the gate. I would say with the Wolf ammunition, the factory ammunition, now these 50 reloads, I would say I'm probably pushing close to 250, maybe 300 rounds. And I can tell that this barrel is getting even more accurate the more I shoot it. And that's how some mass-produced, manufactured rifles and the barrels can be sometimes. And you can't always make the speculation that a firearm shoots like crap because you went and bought some really cheap ammunition, didn't give that barrel a chance to break in. And that's exactly what I'm seeing with this firearm. The more I shoot it, the more accurate it gets. Obviously, the Hornady black ammunition compared to the Wolf ammunition came out on top, and especially my reloads, the average of the 123 SMKs with SMKs with XBR 8208, that 5x5 actually averaged sub MOA in the 0.9s. And I think I still have some more load development, but this is very promising. Well, I'd like to hear what you have to say about all this. Make those comments in the comment section below. Give me your thoughts. What direction do you think I should go? I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this series up to the 4th part here, and there's more parts yet to come. Definitely number 5, maybe a number 6, depends how this next part of the series goes. If you guys really feel like you've learned something, you're getting something out of this series, scratch my back, and I'll keep on scratching yours by becoming a Patreon. It helps me out more than you know. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and definitely hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in part 5.